Thankfully, I was staying with a friend, and otherwise I would have had a Christmas in the Mecca of Christmas, London, with me and my Maggie. But actually we did have Maggie. We had masala Maggie with chili sauce and onion, so much better than having the boiled vegetables and Yorkshire pudding on Sunday lunches. And this is how far I go with Sunday lunches: Yorkshire pudding and boiled vegetables. And if I'm very lucky, I would have a cauliflower and cheese thrown in. And with wiser by experience, now I actually travel with a little chili pot.
This is India, a story in the making. And I'm your host, Lavina Tandon.
What we think depends so much on our perspectives, and this implies to anything: our relationships, personal relationships, as well as relationships between nations. Hello and welcome to India, a story in the making. Today we are going to focus on, or what I'm going to talk about, are these very perceptions and perspectives that have a role to play in our personal lives, how they actually change how we look at things. Specifically, today I want to focus on Indo-UK relations, and in particular, maybe a little bit on free trade agreement, the ever pending free trade agreement between India and UK. Now, why don't we start with where we are, a Christmas weekend. It's a bit of a deja vu moment for me, because it was in the December of 2004 that I landed in this country, or stepped foot in the UK for the first time, specifically in London on the way to Cardiff. I was chosen as a Charles Wallace Fellow for the year 2004 and 2005, and was to write a paper on health journalism at the Cardiff University. Though my stint in the Cardiff University was to start in the January, or rather specifically 14th of January in 2005, but I arrived earlier in the country in search of a white Christmas. Now, being a student of English literature, a pass out from Jawaharlal Nehru University, as they call it, JNU, and being a daughter of a man who taught English literature, Professor Dr. B.G. Tandon, my father, Shakespeare was like a family member. And he used to refer to Shakespeare as if he were his friend, philosopher and guide. So by the time I was 13, 14, I had read most of Dickens, Bronte and Jane Austen. Now, first it all started by wanting to impress my father, and then I got into these books. So my life was about the summers of that Jane Austen describes, the beautiful picnics in summers, or Christmas Carol of Charles Dickens, where every Christmas is a white Christmas. And there we are. So I landed in this country looking for a white Christmas, just to discover that not only there was no white in the Christmas, and to top it all, there was no one on the roads, not a stir, not a mouse to be seen. And the best part was that all the shops were closed as well. Thankfully, I was staying with a friend, and otherwise I would have had a Christmas in the Mecca of Christmas, London, with me and my Maggie. But actually we did have Maggie. We had masala Maggie with chili sauce and onion, so much better than having the boiled vegetables and Yorkshire pudding on Sunday lunches. And this is how far I go with Sunday lunches: Yorkshire pudding and boiled vegetables. And if I'm very lucky, I would have a cauliflower and cheese thrown in. And with wiser by experience, now I actually travel with a little chili pot. Though now there are a lot of places have chili, but still, just to be safe, I do carry my chili pot with me. Now, coming back to where I was, my white Christmas, I did not find the white Christmas that I was looking for. So my perception was challenged and my perspective changed. But this somehow has not happened in Britain and with Britons. We still live in the hope of white Christmas. Now, Actually, it was Dickens who reinvented Christmas, if you like. Britain hasn't had too many white Christmases. In fact, in the last 20 years, there has not been a real white Christmas. Believe it or not, there have been Christmases like with a bit of layer of snow, which is 2022. There was in 2017 some Christmas holidays in the school, but not a real white Christmas. In fact, the real white Christmas in Britain, they say it used to happen between 1550 and 1880, if I'm right. It's the Little Ice Age in Britain, when even the River Thames till 1814 used to get used to freeze, and I am told that people could skate on it, and that was that time. Now, Dickens was born in 1812, so his first few years of his life, possibly he saw about 6 white Christmases. But when he wrote the Christmas Carol in 1843, so he started writing in October and he finished the novel by the end of November, and I call that absolute genius, so that it could be on sale for that Christmas. He actually reminisced and he thought, and he threw with words the picture of a Christmas that he had seen when he was a child, really. And this is the Christmas, the hope that we are still hanging on to, Britain's still hanging on to. And though there are many experts would say that there are many writers who came before and after him, but no one cut or no one reinvented this white Christmas like Dickens did. Now, another very interesting bit is that it was actually in the Victorian age, the husband of Queen Victoria, that is Prince Albert, who started this, who was from Germany, and it was him who started this concept of bringing the Christmas tree into the Windsor Castle, the home of the royals. So that was the first time that Christmas tree really was introduced to the life. Because at the time of Dickens, what was happening was there was Industrial Revolution, and a lot of people did not have that much of time to celebrate. And there was a section of people, Puritans, who were trying to actually rid the Church of England of these superstitions and this kind of celebration. So there was a lot of turmoil happening, and then there was Dickens, and then there was Prince Albert, and then there was, I think, if I'm not wrong, 1840, when the first card in which Queen Victoria is there with his Christmas tree, snowflakes, children on the sledge, and then this card, newspapers illustrated this card, and this whole tradition really started, and we are still hanging on to this perception of white Christmas, while it has not been here for a very long time. In fact, the real last white Christmas would be 1999. So all this started this PR bandwagon of white Christmas, and here we are, this girl in 2004 leaving a country where festival is all about being on the street. Yes, it is about being with the family, but it's all about being on the street from Diwali to Eid to Christmas. It's all about people and food, and here I was hanging on to their perception here in the UK. One such enduring perception is that Britain equals good life. Now, many students from India and elsewhere have come in search of good life, and what we find them here in cramped rooms, eating food in the Gurdwara and living a very hard life. And some of them who I have interviewed actually have said to me, please send the right message, do a very strong story, write a very strong piece, so that this discourages the other students to come here, because the cost of living, as it's become such a phrase here, is actually very, very severe. And even on my watch, since pandemic and since Britain has come out of the EU, it's quite expensive here. Just of late, I've been on the Oxford Street and I saw these lines of people, homeless people, in absolutely a queue, and I was absolutely shocked. So this whole concept of Britain equals good life is diminishing, yet we find thousands of people crossing the English Channel and landing on the shores of Britain as a problem for the politicians here, and forever, whoever is the Prime Minister, they're constantly giving the same spiel of bringing down the immigration in tens and thousands, and actually it's not really happening. That becomes a kind of a mandate for elections, but not something that is effectively working out. And actually what is happening on the ground, the public services, especially the NHS, will completely grind to a halt if immigrants are taken out of the system. A rather catch-22 situation. Perceptions, maybe say. Indo-UK relations present another situation of shifting dynamics. It used to be richer Britain and poorer India, where Britain is calling the shots. But now it seems it is partnership of equals, where in future it could be less wealthy Britain and a better off India. A partnership of equals, but this is something that a lot of people find difficult to accept now, and that is where the complexity comes in. For the first time in Britain since World War II, the millennials or the present generation will find it harder to buy or purchase a house or spend the way their previous generation, that is their parents or their grandparents, would have done. And this is not me, this is the World Economic Forum that is saying, and many other studies that are saying. With Brexit, UK's consumer market has shrunk, and India's consumer market has become bigger and better. The world is allured by this market. They are looking at India as a market. So while after Brexit, Britain is trying to muscle in and realign itself and make a space for themselves in the world, and where readjustments of perceptions and perspectives are actually into play and should be brought into play, here is India trying to assert its own might in this mix. And therefore, with Brexit on the one hand, where UK's consumer market has shrunk, India's consumer market has gone bigger. The world is allured by this market, and where the UK or Britain is trying to muscle its space in to redefine itself, redefine its own, actually readjust, I would say, its own perceptions and perspectives, India is trying to muscle in and let the world know that they have actually arrived. And this is where actually I remember my last guest, Timothy Fisher, who was the ex-chairman of Coventry City and now the CEO of Sterling Education, and he's doing many more things, investment banker, who said that Indians are tough negotiators. They want a deal, but they want a fair deal. And it is the fair of the deal, I must say, that is where everything is hinging on the free trade agreement. I did understand when the Foreign Minister of India, Jaishankar, said that doing a deal is not all that easy, but because we have to keep in mind the livelihoods of the people and of small and smaller businesses and craftspeople and all of those, because yes, it makes a lot of sense, because coming in of big markets or leveling up taxes and tariffs would mean a kind of severe blow, could be, to a very small businesses or a craftsman who would need to compete with a big business or a big industry, which is quite difficult. So it is not that easy a negotiation to be had, and there is hard negotiations to happen, and that's exactly what has happened, where Britain is trying its best. This deal is important for them, and India is trying to make sure that it is a fair deal. Now, this is where I comfortably lead to the next guest in the next episode. Richard Heald, OBE, who is the CEO of UK India Business Council. He has been working in the space of Indo-British relationship for over 25 years. And he's quite in the thick and thin of the free trade agreement. In the next episode, I want to ask him what is the future of this relationship? How does he see this free trade agreement going or not going? Because if it is not done by the end of January, we will be entering the election season in India, and this deal then will be pushed much further down. So, very important indeed, the next episode where I shall be talking to Richard Heald, OBE, about the future of Indo-UK relationship, and most importantly about his biryani making skills. Apparently he's one of the best he makes one of the best biryanis in town. So I want to find out how has he managed to do that. So stay tuned, join me on India, a story in the making, where we get global opinion on the India story and on different aspects and various issues that are current. So thank you very much, and I must, before I go, thank the beautiful place where I'm sitting in here. It is Teka Restaurant here in Watford. Beautiful place, warm, nice, lovely food. And if you're passing by Watford, if you're here, I have been coming and eating here so often. Don't judge me for it, but do come, enjoy a drink and some food and snacks and some warm company and warm place. So thank you, take care, and God bless.
Listen to my podcast audio on Apple, Spotify, Binge Pods, or wherever you get your podcast from. And watch the video of the podcast on my YouTube channel, Lavina Tandon. New episodes are out every Sunday.